So is there anything specific you would change about the way they're operating in those areas? Maybe you're saying the rule change is obviously one that you would go back to some old school rules, but is there anything like under the radar that you would do if you were in the NFL?
Listen, guys, it's as simple as this, right? You take away practice time from teams, and now the teams don't operate at the same level. Like when I watch, you guys watch the sport maybe, and you see all these great athlete schemes. I watch guys kind of fumbling around with their footwork. I watch guys that are going into contact in like wrong body positions. So that's the kind of stuff that I watch. And so when I see the guys aren't operating at necessarily as high a level as they used to, I look at it like, well, we should be practicing more. But for a number of reasons, we can go into the Jeff Saturday stories and all why we're not allowed to put a ball in our hands until April. There's a bunch of stuff that's happened from here to there, but ultimately, I just want to see the best product out on the field as we can, and as long as they're working towards doing that, like I'm all for it.
So now that we're in kind of the off season, the next step is obviously the NFL draft. Can you take us through what these kids do going to the combine, getting ready for the draft, kind of learning their way around the league? Can you express how your rookie combine was?
Yeah, so the combines, that whole experience is interesting, right? Because and especially now, because they have all of these professionals. We saw the agents are they take them to the combine prep place, and they're all over the country. And it's interesting because, a lot of these kids are prepping for something that's not necessarily going to help them during the season. Like this combine, running a 40, learning how to start, spending all that time working on your 225 bench. I mean, yeah, there's some marginal benefit there, but ultimately that doesn't help you get a job, right? This is all, again, what we're talking about before. The combine's really for TV. It's really for marketing. You could get your medical done anywhere, and you could just have pro days where we can see how well this guy can really move in a football capacity, right? So I think for guys now, there's a ton of pressure because there's so much media out there. There's so much access to information. I think net it's all good because it is good for the league. It does drive revenue, but my focus always when I talk to athletes, especially guys coming, is like, the combine is going to get you some chat, but you're going to make the team based on whether or not you can perform with your pads on. And that's what we really want to focus on in these next couple months. Work on the strength and conditioning and movement patterns that are really going to help you kind of play this sport on the field better. We want to improve your on-field performance, not necessarily how you look in underwear.
We are talking to former Packers, Panthers, and Seahawks guard Mike Wahle. Now, Mike, you talk about the athletic ability some of these players have now. I mean, you talk about the offensive linemen. I mean, you saw last year, a couple of years ago, Mekhi Beckham, he was running, he's 360 pounds. He runs a 5.5. I mean, it's ridiculous what these offensive tackles are running now. I mean, I can't wait to see what some of these tackles this year are going to run. Are you surprised of the athletic ability and the transition of when you played the game and what they've turned into now, beast behemoths that are just unbelievable athletes?
So I'll tell you this. Walter Jones ran a 4.65. Remember that name?
Oh yeah, I remember Walter Jones. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Walter Jones ran a 4.65. That was a great tight end time about 8 years ago.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. So I kind of look at it maybe a little bit differently than a lot of people. You have some big, tall, heavy guys that can run a 5.5 and everything. Like, Mekhi Becton's an absolute unit, man. I'm not disrespecting him at all. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to have a great career. I just think that on par with the amount of, humans are going to evolve, continue to evolve generation to generation. But when I see these guys coming in, they're not necessarily as strong as they used to be because that point of emphasis isn't what it used to be, right? It's not much of a smash mouth football game. The game's changed, the game's evolved. So we see these guys now, and I'm always kind of really interested in how they bend, how they move. Certainly a guy like Mekhi Becton's like super, super impressive. But I look at a guy who's like 33 years old, like Trent Williams, and I go, that's probably the most impressive dude in the league right now, and he's 33. So I see Andrew Whitworth playing at 40. I'm like, how the hell is he playing at 40? I'm 44. I feel like I'm going to die every morning. And he's playing in the Super Bowl at 40 years old. So I'm just impressed with those guys, right? I start getting impressed by the guys who have the durability and the sustainability of a long term to be that kind of athlete. Those guys are special, man.
So back to the other side of the ball, is there a particular pass rusher or defensive lineman that was the hardest to face in your career? So who would that be and why?
For me?
Yeah.
Oh man, I came into the league. I was in the NFC North, so we had Luther Ellis, Back then, Warren Sapp. But we had this dude named John Randall from the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know if you heard of him.
Yes,
Man, I'll tell you, the worst feeling in the world is I lined up my second year. I was starting at left guard. And I remember the first third and 8, the first third down. I heard he talked, and I heard that he would study the media guide. I had a nickname. I was nicknamed after Ronnie Beagle, who played in the Naval Academy in 1945. Because my friends call me Beagle. So third and 8, man, we're in the huddle, and I just hear Beagle, and I turned around. I was like, "Oh, I'm coming." I turned back around and went, "Oh shit, I'm in some real trouble." That guy was unbelievable. He was so good. He would beat you, and then he would spin back into place, and then he'd beat you again and get a sack on the third move. Like, he was that nasty.
I personally think that you are kind of cut out of this Dan Campbell cloth of this is how it is. I'm going to be brutally honest and upfront. Do you have any aspirations of coaching? Just out of curiosity now, because now that I'm talking to you, I get the sense that you could really get a couple of guys to go run through a wall.
Yeah, I love working with athletes, man. That's my whole goal, is just to make, the guys that are really committed to the cause, I just want to make them as good as they can. I want to help them on that journey. I do that in the private sector now. I was in coaching for a couple years, and I'm fulfilled in what I'm doing now. I love working with it. If I get chances to go consult with teams and work with coaches, and I've got a coach education program, a coach development program as well. So, listen, I love the journey. I love being a part of sports. And again, when you find guys that are committed to the cause, like I wrote a paper about being a professional athlete when I was third grade, guys. I just interviewed Amon Green. He got in a fight with his teacher in fourth grade because he told him he was going to be a professional athlete. And it's like, when you meet those people, right, we live that life, and all you really have to give back now is experiences and knowledge. And you meet those kind of people that are super committed, man. All we want to do is help them.
Well, I'm reading a little bit about you. And by the way, we are talking to ex-NFL player, Packers, Panthers, and Seahawks guard Mike Wahle. You played for Navy. What was it like playing in the Army-Navy game? Everybody talks about it. It's a crazy game. Both teams can't stand each other. What is it like playing in those big games?
It's cool. The pomp and circumstance around that game is awesome. And what's nuts about that game is, I think back in the day when we were playing, both teams were top 25. So we were good, not great. And we're never going to be confused with Ohio State or anything, right? Mm-hmm. But we had pretty competitive teams. But you're getting these – they put these videos up on the screen during all the timeouts. And they're from all over the world. I mean – Bering Straits, Afghanistan, you got people over. I mean, every base in the world is putting together these hype videos. And you just realize, man, people actually care about this. They really care. Days are the work shift is stopped at these bases to watch this game. And that part of it was it was pretty gnarly because, we're working out of, I think we were independent. Mm-hmm. And the biggest game we played every year was obviously Notre Dame, but that wasn't a game that we were expected to win. This game, you kind of came in, and I think that was the only game on that Saturday before they started having some of these Big 12, Pac-12 championships on that day. That was the only game in town. So all eyes were on us. It was our time to kind of shine. And it was a lot of fun. It's a special moment for sure.
So what was the Naval Academy experience like outside of football? What was the training like?
God.
What did you end up doing?
I wasn't built out to be in the Navy. I always tell guys this. There's three kinds of people that went to the Naval Academy. There's guys like me who I wanted to play Division I college ball, and that was my option. So there's a handful of guys like me, and then there's a handful of guys who got their lunch money stolen every day in high school, and they were like, we're going here to make up for that. We're going to be that. We're going to be these hardo, kind of cadre guys to get, because in the academy you become. You gain authority just by getting older, right? It's not it's not merit based. There's a handful of those guys too, and then there's this really sweet spot of great high school student athletes, good dudes, probably chess club president, class president, ran the school newspaper, whatever. Just good human beings, and those guys are the people that should be there. They should just dump the rest of us, and they should all be there because I was there, and I love the friends that I made, the relationships that I had with football. But being in the military or being at the academy really wasn't the college experience I was looking for.
So I always ask this question to guys that had a long tenured time in the league, because obviously retirement can go very south for some guys. They don't know how to handle it. They don't know if they've planned for it correctly. Do you have any advice to the young kids now on how to kind of know when it's time and what to do during their tenure in the league, so that way when it is time, they're prepared for it?
This is probably a controversial statement because a lot of people, especially with the brand awareness that these players have now, they're always looking to the next thing. But I always looked at it this way. They pay you an ungodly amount of money to do something that you've been wanting to do since you were 6 years old. You should go do it as best you can. Ride it until they buck you off. Go have as much fun. Work as hard. Be the best version of yourself. I can't tell you how many teammates I had that I've talked to since the retirement. And they said, man, I wish I would have given it the respect it deserves. I wish I would have put in a little bit more. I could have been better. I could have done more. These guys are pro athletes, had great careers, and they're feeling that way. They have that regret, man. You never want to live with that regret. So, I tell athletes now, you're probably going to live to be 100 years old. You want to spend your 20s, some of your 30s doing the thing that you love as well as you can, get paid an absolute boatload of money for it. What do you got to worry about? Don't worry about anything else. Put yourself in place. Make sure if you have interests, if you have hobbies, if you have things you want to be focusing on outside of ball, great, but never let it intersect with football. The best thing that athletes do now, the athletes of this generation, is they get a bunch of their buddies and they help them run their little businesses, right? They help them manage their lives. They help them just do the things that take away from you being the best version of yourself on the field. And so when you have guys like that around you, people that you trust, people that you surround yourself with, they can be your business managers. They can kind of work on operations for you. They can kind of vet out if you're wanting to get into NFTs, you want to get into the music business. Let them do it, right? Take a chunk of money, put it aside, let them do it. Go let them explore and work on being the best version of yourself on the field because when it's over, it's over. You're not going to get that time back. You're going to have so much time during the rest of your life to kind of explore these other options.
As you guys know, we are talking to former Packers, Panthers, and Seahawks guard Mike Wahle. Last question for us before we let you go, because we know you're a busy guy. You got a family, and you're getting ready for whatever you're going to be doing tomorrow, and we don't want to bother you too long. Your favorite Brett Favre story? Is there a story that you can remember that you can tell everybody about Brett Favre, of the player that he is on and off the field?
Well, everybody usually points to the game, the Monday night game against the Raiders after
With
his
his
dad
father,
passed away.
Yes.
And honestly, that was the heaviest football game I've ever been. I mean, that's the heaviest thing I've ever been a part of. I mean, what he did that day that was the most legendary sports thing I've ever been a part of, I've ever seen. I mean, you can't make up how well he played under those circumstances and how it's just like every single thing that day worked and how down he was. He was on tears the entire time on the sidelines. Everybody was emotional. It was nuts. Having said that, that dude was one of the best jokesters you've ever been around. And I'll never forget. So I'm not going to name the coach, but during a preseason game, Brett's like, hey, you need to stand in front of me. I got to take a leak. And they weren't allowed to go into the tunnel. So he ends up on the sidelines, taking a leak all over the back of this guy's pants. Just spraying him in the middle of the second or third quarter. He's already out of the game in the preseason game. He was going like, only a quarterback could get away with doing that.
You mean only Brett Favre could get away with doing that?
Yeah, Brett, let me tell you, Brett's the kind of guy that he could put he put icy hot in the front of my pad, of my forehead pad in my helmet one day on a Friday after we had Fast Fridays. And you put icy hot on your forehead, you start sweating, right? It gets in your eyes. And I'm bald. It's like I got some real problems. I got snot, tears everywhere. And I'm thinking, I am going to kill whoever did this. Like, this person is dead. Their car's gone. I'm going to flip their car over. I'm not sure. But you find out it's the quarterback, and you find out not as the quarterback, it was Brett. And you go, good one, man. You got me good. Like, what else are you going to do?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And you don't want to get him angry because he'll be telling the coach to sit you. So there you go. I know
Legendary,
all about that.
Man.
Absolutely. One of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game. Mike, why don't you tell the fans how they can find you on social media?
Yeah, check me out on Twitter, Mike Wahle68, Wahle, Mike Wahle68 on Twitter, and then Process to Perform on Instagram.
Mike, we would definitely like to get you on very, very soon as the offseason progresses and free agency and then obviously the draft, because you work with a lot of these kids. Maybe during our draft show, maybe we'll get you on and we'll talk a little bit about the draft. Maybe you know some of the kids that are going to be drafted in the first, second, third round.
There's a lot of interior offensive linemen.
Absolutely.
Into this draft.
Maybe we'll get some information from you so everybody can get to know the player and the strengths and the weaknesses of the offensive linemen that are in this year's draft.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for having me on, guys.